Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, as the bloody war continues in Ukraine, we head to a school in Kosovo that's training Ukrainian women to clear deadly Russian landmines that now dot the landscape. Also, Google is set to pay $118 million to settle a class action lawsuit that accuses it of systematically underpaying women. But will other companies take note? I'll be asking author and gender equality consultant Gill Whitty-Collins. And a goal for equality on the football field, with Italy giving the go-ahead for a women's professional league. But we begin with a story that continues to dominate the headlines. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, deadly Russian landmines have been placed across Ukrainian territory. As a result, a school in Kosovo is training Ukrainians to detect, identify and neutralise those mines. Yet since men aged between 18 and 60 are not allowed to leave Ukraine, that duty has fallen mainly on the shoulders of women, as our team report from Kosovo.
First thing, they need to know this.
Anastasia Yerahova has just arrived in western Kosovo for demining training. This young Ukrainian comes from a region pounded by Russian artillery fire.
Second one.
For the 25-year-old humanitarian, learning how to remove mines is also a way to counter the violence of war.
The majority of the agricultural lands, they are highly contaminated at the moment because of their hostilities, and as far as a lot of the cities and towns and also other settlements. So that's why it is important, because when we come back to Ukraine from this training, we can apply these skills.
Okay, so why
20 years ago, these Kosovan instructors were dealing with war and landmines in a conflict that cost the lives of over 13,000 people.
So we want this. And we focus on Ukrainian type of items that they are being used. The Russia is using against Ukraine, so we're focusing on those, bringing our experience from the Balkans wars, which are pretty much similar, ex-Yugoslavian manufactured items, compared with the Russian ones.
But for Anastasia Yerahova, these classes are about more than just the lessons themselves. Here, she finally feels understood.
Kosovo also was in the war, and they were also fighting for their independence. That's why they really can understand what we are feeling now and what we are going through.
After 4 weeks of intensive training, Anastasia Yerahova is returning home, but to a heavy workload. According to experts, demining Ukraine could take decades.
Now, one of the world's biggest tech giants, Google, is to pay $118 million to settle a class action gender discrimination lawsuit that impacts some 15,500 women. Google is also required to have an independent labour economist evaluate its hiring practices and pay equity studies. In 2017, 3 women filed a complaint accusing the tech giant of underpaying female employees, citing a wage gap of around $17,000. Gill Whitty-Collins is a consultant, board member and executive coach. She's also the author of Why Men Win at Work and joins me now from Geneva. Gill, thank you so much for your time. That is one major payout for Google, and surely this decision is going to put all companies on notice that gender pay gaps will no longer be tolerated. But do you think business leaders and senior management are listening?
I really hope so, and I really do hope that this scares them into action. You know, the gender pay gap is everywhere, right? It's not just Google. Everywhere I look, every company I talk to, they think they don't have a gender pay gap, and then we look and they absolutely do. And what I love about this story is that women have stood up for themselves. Normally, honestly, women, we accept gender inequality, we tolerate it, we allow it. But I feel this is a fantastic example of women standing up for themselves and using their power. And they've won, because I do see this as a win, not least because it's a massive payout, but more than anything because Google are going to need to as a result, evaluate all of their systems and processes and evaluate their gender pay gap and what's causing it. And I really do hope that other companies are watching and that they don't wait for their lawsuits, that they take a really, really big and close look at their own gender pay gap, because I promise you that when they look, they will find it. They absolutely will.
So, Gill, is legal action the only answer in addressing gender pay gaps?
I mean, obviously, it's not the ideal answer. And the issue, I think, is that most companies, they don't actually realise that it's happening. They genuinely believe that they don't have the problem. And it's only when we look closely at their data that we see that it absolutely is. So in an ideal world, I'd have every company in the world with a fantastic new salary process in place that takes this issue away. But in reality, what I like is that this route is available to actually solve this if required, because honestly, the issue is everywhere. I love the fact that we have the option and that women have used their power and taken this option. But of course, ideally, we absolutely would not have to resort to a lawsuit to get something as simple as gender equality.
In regards to your book title, Gill, why is it that men are still winning in the workplace?
You know, there's actually a really simple answer to the question why men win at work, and it's that the people who just make the decisions about who to give big jobs, big promotions, big leadership roles to believe that the man is better. Of course they do. They give the job to the person they think is the best. The problem is that can't be right, can it? Because women are 50% of the population, 51% of the population, and women have equal intelligence, equal competence, equal leadership ability even. So it cannot possibly be right. So the real question I always think is actually, why do we believe that men are better? That's a much more difficult question. It's a much more complex answer. And it's really a combination of many, many invisible and unconscious and unintended forces which are combining to make us believe that. The invisible power of culture, the competence versus confidence equation, the umbrella theory, the time issue, all of those things combining to create a kind of invisible ceiling which convinces us that the man is stronger when actually he's maybe just much better at marketing himself, promoting himself, many other things which actually have not necessarily anything to do with his capability or his competence or his qualification to do the job.
So, Gill, the complaint also alleged that Google was locking women into lower career tracks, leading to less pay and lower bonuses when compared to their male counterparts. So how much of that onus to change things is up to us as women, and how much is up to our male colleagues?
I mean, I'm not a woman who believes in dumping all of this on women, right? That women have to solve this problem. I think there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done by men, by organisations. But fundamentally, I believe that women can try until the end of time to fix this issue, and we will get nowhere if we don't have men and organisations with the men at the top championing this. And I think it's really important that everybody, including the men at the top of organisations, understand that and put systems in place that really support the equality of women and the diversity of an organisation right the way through to that top level.
Gill Whitty-Collins, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And finally, another goal for equality. Italy has given the green light to create a professional football league for women players beginning next year. Most importantly, a professional salary means the players can now concentrate solely on the game itself, as our team in Rome report.
It's warm-up time for the Lazio club players, one of the two principal women's football teams in Rome, a sport that was run by the amateur league until now, which meant no employment contract for the players, even if they trained every week like the professional male teams. For these athletes, the announcement that women's football will turn professional is the long-awaited outcome of a lengthy battle.
After the many years of sacrifices we've made, we women, I think it's the beginning of a process that will finally bring us some recognition.
Virginia plays midfield. For the last 5 years, she has been juggling football with a job as a computer assistant to make ends meet, because amateur football does not allow for players to earn an official salary.
We've been fighting for our rights for years now, and it's been years since we've wanted football to become a profession, because, in the end, it's what we do every day of the week. It's a proper job.
From now on, Series A players will have professional contracts, giving them the right to holiday pay, retirement funds and social security. For the Italian Football Federation, it's a real revolution in the world of sport.
Costs will increase for the clubs, and so we'll have to make sure that Serie A women's football takes off so we can attract more sponsors and more fans.
Fans, who are hoping that this change to a professional league will allow for improvement in the quality of the championship.
We're hoping it will make a real difference in quality.
If the national teams have more success, it means the world of women's soccer will grow bigger. If we start that process now, then we can reap the benefits in 8, 10 and 12 years' time.
Despite the general enthusiasm, the path towards real gender equality in sport is still a long one. Football is the only sport in Italy to have a professional women's league. For the multitude of other sports, the battle is still far from over.
And that's all for now. You can keep up with the 51% on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Plus, you can catch our previous programmes on the France 24 website. So until our next show, bye for now.